Welcome. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your time. We're here to sort of go over the May revise very quickly, and then we'll have time for a few questions if you have them. And I'm going to turn it over to Anna. I'm just going to be running the slides. So welcome. Anna is our advocacy manager. She's amazing. And thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you for being here today for our state budget webinar. The governor's May revise proposal came out earlier, and this is sort of facts review on it. So we're ready to give you all of the new details. All right, so this is sort of an overview of what we have for the May revise in the budget proposal. So we do, as we know, have some revenue challenges in the state of California right now. We have a total projected $27.6 billion deficit as projected by the May revise. That being said, this looks significantly better than it did during the January governor's proposal. We had a $37.9 billion deficit, but early action budget items were able to reduce this down to $20.6 billion. Then tax projections were lowered, and that led from the $20.6 billion deficit having a $7 billion increase, which is how we reached this $27.6 billion figure. There are also projected ongoing deficits after this year of around $30 billion per year starting in 2025. So those are some things to look out for as we figure out how to manage this deficit. Now we're going to look into some of the tools that the governor's office is proposing to use to manage the deficit. So one, Proposition 98 costs have been, the minimum guarantee was lowered, and basically what was needed to stabilize K through 14 was above the Proposition 98 constitutional guarantee. So the governor's office has shifted around other money to make sure that our K through 14 have the money they need to run schools and community colleges. So we appreciate the governor prioritizing stabilization of the California community colleges despite the Prop 98 minimum guarantee being lowered. One of the other tools being used to manage the deficit is sweeping undispersed one-time funding that was appropriated in recent years. Another thing is reducing state administrative agency costs by 7.6%. So this is also going to affect the chancellor's office, so expect to see cuts there as well. So the Safety Net Reserve Fund is a reserve for social safety net items, and the entire $900 million balance of this fund will be used to help manage the deficit. But the governor's office is planning to reduce the proposed reliance on state rainy day funds from $12.2 billion from the January proposal to $3.3 billion. I'm going to go over some broad community college budget updates. So the COLA that was proposed in January was 0.76%, which is not much. And that has been increased to 1.07%. Also not that much, but we're very grateful for all that we can get. The Prop 98 guarantee is set at $109.1 billion. Another update is withdrawals are going to be increased from the public school system stabilization account. This account is effectively a rainy day fund for Prop 98. So the withdrawals from that are going to be increased to $8.4 billion to make sure that our local educational agencies and community college districts maintain the stability that they have. So we're going to talk about some of the budget impacts that the May revise is going to have on the California community colleges. This is very unfortunate. This is something that all of our community college partners have been pushing for, but also expected. The Cal Grant Reform Act, Cal Grant Community College expansion of transfer portability did not make it into the May revise because of the lack of funds necessary to accomplish those two things. The May revise also reduces support by $60.2 million in one-time general funds for the Golden State Teachers Grant Program. It reduces funding for the Learning Aligned Employment Program by $485 in one-time general funds. Also, we're experiencing $30 million in reductions for the school-linked health partnerships and capacity grants, as well as a reduction of $5.5 million for California's Education Learning Lab, which is done by the Office of Planning and Research. So those are some of the cuts that community colleges are experiencing this May revise. Thankfully, it could have been a lot worse. That being said, it's not optimal either, and we acknowledge that lots of these changes, particularly with financial aid, a lack of reform there will impact our most marginalized students the most. So we're going to talk about FACC's position on the budget. So we put out a press release on the May revise, and I believe you can read that on our website. But we said FACC recognizes the California community colleges have been shielded from significant budget cuts in a difficult budget cycle. While we appreciate the governor's intention to continue funding core components of our colleges, we are concerned that some of the proposed budget cuts will disproportionately impact the most vulnerable individuals in our communities. Reductions to student financial aid, the CalWorks program, and another delay to the implementation of California Community College Cal Grant reform will have significant consequences for students. FACC remains committed to working with the legislature and administration to reach a budget agreement that balances fiscal responsibility with the needs of California community college students. So again, this is not optimal. We do have a budget deficit, but it could be a lot worse again on the California community college front, but we do need to continue our advocacy and make sure that we protect the most vulnerable students in our communities. So as far as what's next in the budget process, the May revise just came out. Legislative budget hearings on the May revision start this week, so we will be attending those and giving feedback. The Assembly and Senate will unite on a legislative budget plan in late May or early June. After that, a constitutionally required budget bill must be passed by Saturday, June 15th. So that is one of the big deadlines coming up for the legislature. And then the governor must sign or veto this budget bill by Thursday, June 27th. But do not fear, the budget bill that is in print on June 27th will not be the end of the end, because in late June, trailer bills that will amend the big budget bill will start to go through the process and reflect the different amendments that need to be made to that budget bill while still meeting the constitutional deadline. And then after that, the 2024 to 2025 fiscal year begins on Monday, July 1st. And then we start the process all over again. So as far as how you can get involved, like I said, the budget process is ongoing until the final budget is signed, as well as with the trailer bills. And we need your voice to help ensure that the California Community College budget is protected. So some of the things that you can do are meet with your local assembly member and senator and have a conversation about the budget. FACC had a community college advocacy webinar about navigating the legislative process. We have that recording posted. It is a very great resource to learn about advocacy and how you can be a better advocate for the California community colleges, faculty, and students. You can join the FACC Advocates listserv, where we post updates on legislative and budget matters. And this is a little bit early on, but you can attend the Advocacy and Policy Conference early in 2025. Another thing that you can do, Wendy, if you could go to the next slide, is host a FACC regional conversation at your campus to connect with faculty and students with your region, and FACC can help you to bring a legislator to your campus to discuss the future of the California community colleges and build solidarity, focus on advocacy efforts, and provide a platform for you all to engage both with each other and with your legislators, because engaging in the legislative process and having these conversations is really critical to the health and well-being of our California community colleges. So with that, we will open it up for questions.
So go ahead and use either the Q&A or chat if you have any questions. Regina asks, how will this translate to each individual college?
Wendy, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, and Austin, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a little over 1% COLA. So we do have hold harmless still and through this year, and then that's it. So hold harmless will be, the COLA will be applied to hold harmless for the last time. And then obviously the 1.07% COLA, it is so small, could also be applied to the SCIF formula. There might be some limitations, I believe, on the growth. So we'll have to see how that comes out in terms of growth. But essentially, we're about status quo to this year, which is better than, considering we have a $30 billion deficit, we could be looking at deferrals or even worse cuts. A lot of the money that we've been given in the last blockbuster budget years was one-time money. So some of the one-time money that we've gotten in the past, might not be, clearly might not be renewed, but this is not a cut to our budget. So we're in a good place. There are some other services from the state which are much more significantly affected. And I don't know, Austin, if you want to add to that, if I missed anything.
No, I think you covered it all fairly accurately there, Wendy. And for those of you that don't know me, Austin Webster, W Strategies, I represent Faculty Association in addition to the work that Anna does. Wendy did a pretty good job of covering everything there. I think that the two biggest things that will be really direct impacts for your local college will really be how much you are dependent on growth. Like Wendy mentioned, growth is actually going to go down just a little bit in the revise. I honestly would expect that it might go down a little bit more once the legislature kind of figures out what their priorities are. And obviously looking to bolster other programs within the college system. But otherwise, you're all going to get a 1.07% COLA. The only other major thing that I would say that could be an impact for an individual college is around infrastructure funding. Most of the money for new facilities and all that is kind of being put on hold or clawed back. So if you were about to break ground on a new facility or were in the middle of something, there's a chance that could be delayed. But again, that's kind of a college by college basis. For the rest part, as Wendy mentioned, we're going to be kind of level for this year.
And
So, I was going to say the state also has made some cuts to their own services. And we have heard from some representatives of the chancellor's office that they have been told to cut by 7.9%, which could be significant when it comes to responding to emails or helping the districts with anything they might need directly from the chancellor's office. We'll have to see how that rolls out, but state agencies have been directed from the governor to try and tighten their belts.
And then Bob is asking, what is the
I
best
didn't see that.
chance to extend COLA for major categoricals?
So some of the categoricals it is extended for. The ones that it's not extended for, that's that's advocacy, and we have been successful in doing that in the past, and we continue to try and be successful in the future. But there's kind of like a list. It's not anywhere in law, it just sort of exists. And though there's certain programs in the community colleges that sort of automatically get that COLA, and then some that don't. And the some that don't are the ones that we're always trying to help those programs make sure that they do have COLA.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, but I believe when trailer bills are being written, that is a good time to advocate for COLAs for categoricals that have not received them.
Yeah, the trailer bill process will be certainly a big part of that, Bob, but also, as we're engaging with the legislature over the next couple of weeks, when they start holding their budget hearings on the governor's proposed May revise, will be a big time when we want to make sure that we're letting them know that all the other categoricals are important to us. Fortunately, over the last few years, both the Senate and the Assembly have been very intentional about trying to expand on the list of categorical programs that are receiving COLAs. So, we'll see kind of where their priorities lie, and hopefully they'll be consistent on some of that. But again, recognizing that there's a $27.6 billion deficit this year and an anticipated close to 24 next year, there's a lot of question marks around how much of that is going to be successful, but we'll certainly do what we can on that space. And as Anna mentioned, one of the best ways that you all can be advocates is to meet with your electeds locally too.
There's a question for Regina, a little change of subject about the governor's career education master plan. My understanding is there's supposed to be a draft coming out fairly soon in the next month or two, with finalizing that plan by October. I know that there's still conversations going on. There's two big Zoom meetings tomorrow. I'll be attending one. And there is a draft of some core concepts of the career education master plan that I can certainly email you, Regina, but it is just a draft. It's a widely circulated draft, and it's available for anybody to read. So it's not like a secret document or anything, but they're soliciting input on the core concepts. And then if you listen to Ben Cheetah talk at the Board of Governors meeting retreat last month, he seemed to be talking about the career education master plan as the master plan for higher ed. So I'm interested to see where that ends up. he was equating the two. There is not an existing career education master plan. So my understanding was this was going to be a new master plan, and now it sounds like it is the higher ed master plan. So we'll have to see sort of where that lands. The Board of Governors retreat was on video, and it would be helpful, I think, for anybody interested in this plan to listen to Ben Cheetah talk about the career education master plan at the Board of Governors retreat. It was at the beginning of day 2. I can also send you a link to that. So hopefully that's helpful.
And again, as that rolls out, we're going to need to continue to engage in advocacy, right? And make the faculty voice heard about the ways in which this will change things and the direction that our system will be taken in, and the potential ramifications for all of us.
Any other questions, guys? You are most welcome, guys. It's always a pleasure to have you. And please let us know if you think of anything after the fact. You can always reach out and email one of us, and we'd be happy to try and answer your questions. Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Austin and Lydia.